There are moments in life that defy the boundaries of spoken language, where words feel entirely too heavy or completely inadequate to capture the true weight of what is happening beneath the surface. For years, the world has watched two souls navigate the dizzying heights of global stardom, but it was against the historic and deeply atmospheric backdrop of Germany that everything seemed to shift into a realm of pure, unadulterated truth. The air in Berlin was thick with anticipation, a quiet electricity humming through the streets as fans gathered from every corner of the earth, yet amidst the roaring crowds and the blinding stadium lights, a completely different story was unfolding in the quiet spaces between the beats. It was a narrative written not in statements or official press releases, but in the silent, devastatingly expressive language of the eyes, a silent revelation where Jungkook seemed to lay his entire soul bare for Jimin, needing nothing more than a single glance to communicate a lifetime of shared history, unspoken devotion, and an unbreakable bond that the rest of the world could only hope to glimpse from afar. Every movement on that stage felt charged with an intensity that caught everyone off guard, a palpable gravity that seemed to pull the two of them toward each other no matter how vast the physical space between them grew. When Jungkook looked at Jimin under those sapphire blue stage lights, it wasn't just the casual glance of a teammate or a longtime friend, it was a gaze so heavy with emotion, so intensely focused, that it felt as though the stadium around them had completely vanished into thin air. The chaotic noise of tens of thousands of screaming voices faded into a distant, muffled echo, leaving only the profound stillness of a connection that has survived the harshest storms of fame. Jimin, always so acutely attuned to the energy around him, would catch that gaze, and in that precise fraction of a second, a silent dialogue would occur, a beautiful, fleeting vulnerability that revealed everything they usually keep guarded behind polished choreography and professional smiles. People often talk about the magic of live performances, but the real magic that night lay in the microscopic details, the subtle shifts in expression that could easily be missed if one wasn't looking with their heart. There was a particular moment during a slower, more melancholic melody when Jungkook stood slightly in the shadows, his eyes locked onto Jimin's form as Jimin poured his entire being into a contemporary dance sequence. The way Jungkook's expression softened, losing all the fierce bravado of a global pop icon and replacing it with a look of pure, protective reverence, was nothing short of heartbreakingly beautiful. It was a look that spoke of a deep, foundational understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the pain, the exhaustion, and the absolute triumph they had shared to get to this exact point in their lives, proving that Germany wasn't just another stop on a massive world tour, but the stage for an emotional awakening. As the night progressed, the emotional tension only deepened, wrapping around the arena like a warm, suffocating blanket that left the audience breathless. It became overwhelmingly clear that Jungkook was using his eyes to say the things that the strict parameters of their public lives would never allow him to utter aloud, revealing a profound depth of feeling that felt almost too intimate for a public space. Every time Jimin laughed, a bright, musical sound that usually fills a room, Jungkook's eyes would crinkle at the corners, tracking the movement of Jimin's lips with an intensity that felt like a quiet promise to always be there, to always shield that joy from the harsh realities of the outside world. It was in these stolen glances, these brief, unscripted intervals between songs, that the true essence of their connection was laid bare for anyone willing to truly see, transforming a standard concert into an unforgettable tapestry of raw human emotion. The beauty of what transpired in Germany was rooted in its absolute subtlety, a masterful display of emotional transparency that didn't require grand gestures or dramatic proclamations to shake the very foundation of those who witnessed it. When the final notes of the evening began to ring out, and the confetti started to rain down like falling stars over the stage, Jungkook and Jimin found themselves standing side by side, bathed in the golden glow of the fading lights. In that final, lingering moment before they turned to leave the stage, Jungkook turned his head and met Jimin's eyes one last time, a gaze so profound, so filled with a quiet, eternal gratitude, that it felt as though he had just confessed his entire heart right there in front of the world, leaving an indelible mark on the souls of everyone present and proving that the most powerful truths are always told in silence. The lingering warmth of that final glance didn't just dissipate into the cool German night air, instead, it seemed to set a permanent tone for the hours that followed, carrying over into the quiet, unseen spaces behind the curtains where the real weight of their journey always rests. Away from the blinding flash photography and the watchful eyes of production crews, the atmosphere between Jungkook and Jimin maintained that same heavy, magnetic pull, an unspoken understanding that they had just shared something entirely transcendent on that stage. As they walked down the dimly lit concrete corridors of the arena, the adrenaline of the performance began to give way to a profound, shared exhaustion, yet their steps remained perfectly synchronized, their physical proximity acting as a silent anchor against the overwhelming chaos of their reality. It was during these liminal moments, where the roar of the stadium becomes a distant thumping bassline through thick walls, that the true nature of what Jungkook had revealed through his eyes became impossibly clear, manifesting as a gentle, unyielding protective barrier around Jimin's fragile energy. Witnessing them navigate the aftermath of such an emotionally charged night was like watching a delicate dance of mutual reliance, where a single tilt of the head or a slight slowing of pace communicated more than 1,000 words ever could. Jimin, usually the one to offer comfort and warmth to those around him, seemed to lean implicitly into the steady, unwavering presence that Jungkook was projecting with every breath. Every time the backstage bustle grew too loud, or a staff member approached with urgent schedules, Jungkook's eyes would subtly sweep over to Jimin, checking in on him with a fierce, quiet vigilance that showed an absolute refusal to let the outside world overwhelm the person who mattered most. This wasn't a dynamic born overnight, it was the culmination of a decade spent breathing the same air, crying the same tears, and conquering the same impossible peaks, distilled down into a singular, beautiful night in Germany where all the noise finally fell away, leaving only the purest essence of their bond completely exposed to the elements. As the night deepened and the entourage finally moved toward the waiting vehicles, the quiet intimacy they had established on stage seemed to expand, enveloping them in a private world that nobody else could penetrate. Standing beneath the amber glow of the streetlights outside the Berlin venue, with the crisp European wind rustling the trees, Jungkook stood just a half step ahead of Jimin, his posture instinctively shielding him from the sudden chill and the lingering photographers in the distance. When Jimin looked up, his face partially obscured by a heavy scarf, his eyes met Jungkook's once again, and in that quiet, frozen second, a soft, weary smile broke across his lips, acknowledging the silent vow Jungkook had been making all evening. It was a moment of absolute vulnerability, a shared realization that no matter how vast the stadiums grew, how heavy the crown of global fame became, or how far they traveled from home, they would always have this unbreakable sanctuary in each other's gaze, a timeless truth beautifully revealed under the dark German sky.